In this video, we're going to be talking about cold temperature operation. Okay, what we want to talk about is what happens to an air conditioning system when the outdoor temperature drops. Now, you may be thinking that we're not going to run an air conditioning system in cold outdoor temperatures, but that's not necessarily true. Okay, if your customer is on oxygen, your customer sometimes has Alzheimer's, your customer has other health-related issues, they may be running the air conditioning year-round. Additionally, in commercial buildings, we do have to run air conditioning year-round because of heat gain and the heat coming into sealed windows. So let's talk about what happens to an air conditioning system as the outdoor temperature drops. The best way for me to do this is to use Simutech simulation software. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into just normal operation, okay? Now, a few words. This is a residential split system that I've selected. Okay, it has an indoor section and an outdoor section. They are connected by copper lines. That's usually just the suction line and the liquid line is what's connecting the indoor and the outdoor. The blue is my low pressure side. Red is my high pressure side. We have an evaporator fan, which is our indoor blower motor. This is a TXV based system, which means that TXV, if you remember about metering devices, it's designed to maintain a constant superheat. Okay, we have a condenser section, which is outside. We have our condenser fan motor, and we have our compressor. Now, currently, I'm going to throw gauges on, and we're going to see that our standing pressures, which means the pressures without running, okay, are 156 and 156. We have an outdoor temperature of 95 degrees, okay, and we have an indoor temperature of 85 degrees. So my pressures are even at that, basically equivalent to the indoor temperature. Now, you've probably heard me say this before, but I am really concerned not about pressures, but I'm more concerned about temperatures when I'm looking at the refrigeration system. My gauges that display pressures are only a tool for me to find out what the temperature of the evaporator and the condenser is. So my high side gauge shows me the pressures that are the same any place through the high side of the system between the compressor and the metering device. However, what it is truly showing me is the temperature at which the refrigerant is condensing from a vapor to a liquid. The same as my low side gauge. Okay, it can be connected any place on the low side of the system. It is going to show me the pressure of the refrigerant throughout the low side of the system, but what it's really telling me is the temperature at which the liquid refrigerant is boiling off and becoming a vapor. It's my evaporation point. Okay, and there's different names for it, but it's the point at which my refrigerant is boiling off and becoming vapor. It's the temperature that the latent heat change is happening. So, okay, let's power the system. And we're right now under normal conditions. Okay, this is normal air conditioning conditions. My outside temperature is 95 degrees. My indoor temperature is 85 degrees. My thermostat is set for 75 degrees and my fan switches to auto. Now, I'm not increasing the runtime ratio on this, even though my product does allow me to. Okay, we are slowly watching the system stabilize. Okay, we never want to count on readings after we start a system until it runs for a little bit of time. I mean, normally in real life, I want 10 minutes of runtime before we actually call a system stable. So I'm just going to do what I can't do in real life, and I'm going to make it go a little bit faster here. Okay, I am going to go not allow my stat to satisfy. Okay, I'm going to lock the room temperatures just because I can. Okay, so I want the system to continue to run. Indoor temperature is 86, stat set point 75, ambient temperature is 95. Okay, watch what's happening to my low side temperatures. Okay, my evaporator temperature is now about 43. My high side temperature is 124. If we take a look at our if we let's throw a condenser inlet temperature in here, okay, which is basically showing me the ambient of 95 degrees. Okay, that is normal operation. Now, what happens when the outside temperature drops drastically? Watch the gauges as I do this. Okay, I'm going to drop my outside temperature to an average temperature where we start seeing issues with our units. Okay, I'm going to come down to freezing. Let's come down to just under freezing, 31 degrees. This happens all over the country every year. Okay, we hit 31 degrees in Florida the other day. So now my inlet temperature, my ambient temperature is 31 degrees. What is happening to my low side temperature? Okay, my low side temperature, the temperature of this coil is now 31 degrees. So what is going on here is, since ice forms at 32 degrees, sooner or later my coil is going to start freezing up. Okay? The other thing we have to be aware of is that my high side temperature now is down to 60 degrees because it likes being around 30 degrees above ambient temperature. Okay, so my whole pressures have now dropped. As pressures drop, my compressor becomes less efficient. Also, you will note, if I come in here on my temperature and I'm going to take a suction line temperature reading for superheat. Okay, let's come here and say, okay, so I have a 10 degree superheat. Well, that's that's in my 8 to 10 area, but it's still not where it's really not an efficient way to see what's going on, because in a TXV system, I want to charge and check my charges by subcooling. So let's go on to the liquid line and check my subcooling. Okay, I have 60 degrees. My temperature is 45 degrees here. Okay, so I have basically it's a 15 degree subcooling. Is that right? We don't know because the pressures are too low to tell. So what we can do is you can wrap a tarp around the unit, and in this case, we're going to block the coil a little bit. Watch what happens when I do a 50% block of that coil. What is going on with my temperatures? All of a sudden, regardless of outside air temperatures, you will see immediately that my pressures have changed. So my inside temperature is now, my coil temperature is now above 32 degrees. We're at 36 degrees. Okay, now I can get a decent, it's still 15 degrees, but it's starting to become a decent superheat. And if I take a look at my condenser outlet air, okay, we can now see that I'm starting to put out air that's a little bit warmer. I'm starting to reject heat. What happens if I completely block that coil? So now we're 100% blocked. Okay, notice what's happening to my pressures. Notice what's happening to my subcooling. Okay, 96 degrees. Okay, there, 91 degrees. There. So my subcooling is only, 5 degrees. Subcooling's too low. We're not rejecting enough heat. So that's the symptoms of a blocked coil. But you can use a blocked coil or a partially blocked coil, when you're trying to charge a system in lower temperatures. You can raise those temperatures so your inside coil is above freezing. You don't want this coil freezing. And you can get it into a more usual run by blocking that coil. So cold temperature checking of air conditioning, always carry a tarp or something where you can fully or partially block that condenser coil. Because without that, you cannot verify proper operation of a system. Your indoor coil temperature has to be above freezing.